Well, hello there. This is Lesson 16, Module 2 Math Helper. Today we're using divide by 10 patterns for multi-digit whole numbers, division, and basically what we're going to do here is kind of switch gears from multiplication over to division, and ultimately we're thinking about just larger numbers, starting to develop some of the framework for big division, decimal division numbers. So let's just start here. We're going to start off with something simple, 420 divided by 10. We're going to be using some divide by 10 patterns. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do two different strategies on this. One, I'm going to put these into place value disks. So let's just do this one first. If we look at this 420 in standard form, we have sorry, this I say in uniform. If we look at this in uniform, we have 4 100ths, and so I'm going to go ahead and draw 4 100 disks. And I'm also going to take a look. So I got that. That goes here. And I'm going to take my 2 here, and 2 represents 2 groups of 10. And so I can also split that guy over there. And when I go ahead and divide, I'm going to go ahead and move them over there. And I am dividing by 10. So one group of 100 here, if I divide 100 by 10, it takes 10 tens to get to 100. So if I divide by 10, that's 10. If I go ahead and do 4 groups of 100 divided by 10, I'm going to end up with 4 tens, right? And so I'm going to go ahead and put those here. And if I say that again, I have 4 hundredths divided by 10 equals 4 groups of 10, or 40. And then if I go ahead and do my tens, 10 divided by 10, well, that's 1. Anything divided by itself is 1. And so 2 groups of 10 divided by 10 would be 2. And so I can put those in my little circles here. Now, if I say this expression again, I have 420 divided by 10 equals 42. And that's how I get my quotient here. I can also do the same thing if I look at a place value chart. I think we should. If I have hundreds, and I have tens, and I have my ones, and I have tenths over here. If I put my 420 in here, 420, 4 hundredths, 2 tens, 0 ones. If I divide it by 10, which way is it going to go? It's going to go to the right. The whole number is going to shift to the right. By how many different columns? Just one place value over. My 4 is going to become 40 when I divide it by 10. And my 2 is moving over by 1. And it is also going to be 1, right? See? And I can evidence that right here. So my 4 becomes 40. And my 2 becomes 2. My 0, well, he just moves over 1. But he doesn't really matter because I'm really only dealing with my tens and my ones here. I'm not dealing with the decimal. So I have my product, or my quotient, excuse me, of 42. All right. Sounds pretty good. Let's move on to a bigger question then. Let's do 1600, 1600 divided by 100. Okay? And we'll look at it both ways again. I have 1 of 1,000. I have 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 100ths. And I'm putting all these guys up here. Awesome. And I'm going to divide by 100. Now, if I take my 1,000 and divide it by 100, how many hundreds does it take to get to 1,000, right? 100, 200, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1,000. That takes me 10. Okay? So 1,000 divided by 100 is one group of 10. 100 divided by 100 is a 1. So 6 of them, or 600 divided by 100 would be 6. And I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because I have 6 of these hundreds and they all are divided by 1. So looking at my quotient over here, well, I have 10 and I have 6 in the ones. So ultimately my quotient is 16. And if I look at that the same way I just did in my place values, and I have my thousands, and I have my hundreds, and I have tens and ones. If I do this, 1,600, and now I'm dividing it by 100. So now in my place value, I'm moving it over by 2 different columns. So I'm taking it from my 1,000 and I'm moving it over here to my tens. Each one of these is going to go over by 2. 1, 2. And this fellow over here, he's going to end up 2 over as well. My 1,000 became a 10. My 600s became 1s. And my quotient was 16. Okay, that's cool beans. That's pretty good. Let's go ahead and let's think about the next one then. I have 24, this is problem number 3. I have 24,000, and I'm going to divide it by 600. And if I look at this problem, what's different is, well, now instead of dividing just by 10 or 100, a power of 10, I'm dealing with 600 here. So what I need to try to ask myself is, what can I decompose this 600 into to make it easier so that I also have a factor of 100? So, I can do it by 106, right? 100 times 6 is 600. And so I can decompose that down. So now I can write this equation, 24,000 divided by 100 divided by 6. It's going to give me my answer, my quotient. So we can do this. See, now this gives me the ability to take this and do this quickly. Okay, I can do this using my place value chart if necessary, and I could put this up here. This would be my 10,000s. 10,000, and this would be my 1,000. This would be my 100, and these would be my tens and 1. And if I had this, I would have 24,000. And I'm moving it over by 2, right? So I'm moving this over 2. I'm moving this guy over 2 columns, etc., etc. My 2 is going to end up in my hundreds, and my 4 is going to end up in my tens, and I'm going to end up with 240. Now, there's also, there's ways that you can look at this. Ultimately, I want to do this so that I understand what it is that I'm doing, but I could go ahead, I'm dividing by 100, so I'm taking off 2 zeros, right? If I see that, I'm taking off these 2 zeros. I'm saying, get out of here, and I'm really left with my quotient of 240, and that's what I'm left with here down here is 240. So now I did the divided by 100, so now I just need to divide it by 6 to find my quotient. Well, 24 divided by 6, I can count by 6 as 6, 12, 18, 24, and this gives me 4. And then I have my 0 because it's the ultimate's kind of my 60, right? 60, 120, 180, and then 240. So anyways, 24 divided by 6 is 4, add my 0 on, and I get my quotient of 40. And so this is another way of looking at it, where you decompose this down to get this quotient. You can also use your place value disks to get that same idea, but breaking this down into something a little more easy to understand and do is definitely going to help you out here. Last problem, 180,000 divided by 9,000. Same thing. I'm looking at these two and I'm saying to myself, well, this 9,000 right here, I can decompose that into 2 numbers to give myself a factor of 1,000 here. So let's do that to make this easier. It's going to be 1,009. I'm sorry, I did 1,000 divided by 9, but that's not the message I'm trying to get across here. 9,000 can be decomposed into a group of 1,000 and a group of 9, right? Because 9 times 1,000 is 9,000, and that's how we would get that. Now I can go ahead and put that back into my equation here to help me solve this, to where I get 180,000 divided by 1,000 divided by 9. 180,000 divided by 1,000, I'm eliminating 3 zeros. I'm just getting a product of 180, or sorry, I keep saying product, a quotient of 180. And I'm going to go ahead, I still need to divide it by 9. What I did was I took this, I divided by 1,000, and I got my quotient of 180. 180 divided by 9, well, I can take my 18 divided by 9, and I know the answer is 2. And then I still have a 0 there, and I get my quotient of 20. All right. that's about it. That's it for this lesson. Just want to get you going on division and get you thinking about how you can decompose these numbers, how you can make sense of all this stuff, and post your questions, bring them to class, and love the comments. You guys keep it up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and use this as a tool to help you learn something. And if what I just said makes absolutely no sense to you, or you don't like me, or you don't like my videos, find it someplace else. Find somebody else who works for you, or find a video that helps you out. There's plenty of them out there. Okay. The most important thing for me is that you're learning. So, good luck. Thanks a bunch.